Hello everyone, this is Chris9017, and today we're going to do a comparison of the Echo Toys Mogul Denver, South Park, and Pacific, and the LGB Denver, South Park, and Pacific Mogul. Well, as you can see, by looking in the front, there are a lot of similarities. As you notice, the headlamps look almost exactly identical. This one just has a little bit more shaping and more detail. But if you notice the artwork on the lamps, on this one here, if you look closely, there, and go there, they're exactly the same. Also, the color on the smoke box, they're exactly the same. The pilot colors are exactly the same. However, the main front frame bit, where the pilot bolts onto, on the Echo it's red, it's black. On the LGB, also the wheels are black on the LGB, whereas on the Echo, they're red. And the Echo doesn't really have a true spot plate. What it has is just a door opener, like you would find on a British steam locomotive. Whereas this one does have a number plate. It also has smoke box supports. They both have gold headlamp supports. They both have very similar looking cauldron stacks. Yeah, the Sparker Rusting Cauldron stack. Also, the sand dome is pretty large, whereas the steam dome is rather smaller and more tall. But they're more rounded on the Echo, whereas on the LGB they're more fluted. And also, if you notice the domes, they straddle the bell, since the bell is in the center. Whereas on the Echo, the bell is in the front with the sand dome trailing behind, which is the more common design. Also, the air pump is not shown on the Echo Toys Mogul, whereas it's shown on the LGB Mogul. They both have copper injector piping. Also, the stanches are thicker for the brass handrails. They both have 3 boiler brass bands, but as you notice, this one goes right through the bottom of the dome, whereas this one, it's in front of the dome on the Echo. Yeah. If you don't count the side vents, which are for the air whistle, it has smaller drivers, and yeah, the brake shoes aren't really shown, which you shouldn't really expect, as well as it shows the air tanks and cooler lines, and it has a gold steam chest cover. Whereas this one, underneath, it just says the spring rigging. It shows the brake shoes, shows the Stevenson valve gear. The cylinders and steam chests are plain black with just the aluminum alloy valve guide. Also, another thing, you notice you don't have the bogey adjuster on the Echo, whereas right here you've got the bogey adjuster on how far tight and how far up or down low you want that bogey to swivel and follow the contours and the lay of the land. Also, the Echo Toys Mogul has a safety gate, whereas this has 2 flagpoles. They both have the drawbar. One has a gold brass and one has a plain black drawbar. And also, when it comes to the figures, the bearded man is the engineer, whereas on the Echo, the bearded man is the fireman. And the engineer is on the wrong side on the Echo Toys Mogul, and he's only got a mustache, whereas the fireman, he has no mustache for the LGB. And if you look carefully, both the wooden stakes and the wood load, they look almost exactly identical. And for the trough and collar, they look exactly identical, with the exception of the on-off switch button. They also both have the air tank reservoir on the back of the tender, except this one. This one has two pipes running down, and this one has the coupler lift bar, whereas that one does not. And it's a toy train, so you don't really need to expect to see that. Also notice that the brake wheel is also in the same place on the LGB as it is on the Echo. And you know, the funny thing is, this model is a 1989 model, and Echo Toys came out with their Mogul in 1989. The first LGB Mogul was made in 85. So both LGB and Echo started not too far apart from each other. This model and the first Echo Toys Mogul started out around the same time, and Echo only came out after the LGB only 4 years later. Also, notice something different about the tender. Well, the tender, they both have this inner door part. This one also has the re-railing frog, whereas I believe the Echo does not. And the Echo is a 2-axle. A lot of people think a 2-axle tender is very European, and here is a 4-axle tender. Actually, that's where people get it wrong. 2-axle tenders were not uncommon in the Americas. In the United States, quite a few steam locomotives used 2-axle tenders. I can name a couple. George R. from the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad, when she first began to work on the railroad, she used a 2-axle tender. Ernest S. Marsh on the Disneyland Railroad uses a 2-axle tender. Also, there's a Mogul up in Nevada County in California that's in operable condition. She uses a 2-axle tender. But that 2-axle tender was used on the George R. Also, there was this really old locomotive that was a 240 that was displayed at the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad. That engine used a 2-axle tender. The Edison over at Greenfield Village, Weiser Railroad, that locomotive uses a 2-axle tender. So, 2-axle tenders are not uncommon in the United States. Steptoe Valley number 3, Niles Canyon, that locomotive used a 2-axle tender. So go figure. Echo is not too far. I know the train cars on the Echo toy gondolas, they're all British. They're British styled. And the caboose, that is pretty much American. And about laminated springs and 2-axles, there are quite a number of small American bopper cabooses that use 2-axles and laminated springs. And what you're looking at right here is a brand new car I just received in the mail today. I just converted the couplers to LGB knuckle headers. I took out the plastic wheels and gave them these metal wheels. The old plastic wheels I'll put on the Echo train. And yeah, I've wanted an open sightseeing car for years, but these things have gone pretty pricey to as high as $200. Fortunately, I managed to get this one for about $70, which was pretty good. Yeah, my parents managed to get this engine for about $300. That wasn't too bad. The LGB Mogul, that is, whereas the Echo engine was about $22. Yeah. Also, another difference. That says Denver, South Park, and Pacific on the cab, whereas this one says Denver, South Park, and Pacific on the tender. And it says Classic Rail on the tender. This one has its number on the cab. The other one is not numbered. But overall, you're looking at a toy train clone of the LGB Mogul. That's what an Echo Toys Mogul is. I would say it's a clone of the LGB Mogul in a toy form. But put the two together, you've pretty much got identical locomotives. Or should I say fraternal twins? I wouldn't call them identical, but more like fraternal twins. Or cousins. Yeah. Well, Oh, another thing is, one thing about the LGB Mogul is they do feature an in-glow firebox on newer models. This one does not, since they didn't come out with that feature until like sometime in the later 90s. The Echo Toys ones don't come with a backhead, which, surprise, surprise, is, well, something you wouldn't expect in a toy train. But still, it's nice to have a backhead. Yeah. I'm glad and proud to be the owner of both an Echo Toys Mogul and an LGB Mogul. And I'm really glad that I can make a comparison of the two side by side. Yeah, they are really cool locomotives. I'm very fond of them. Oh, the cab hatch. This one's flattened. That one is more slanted, as if in the open position. You see, there's always something to tell the difference, and yet there's always something to tell them exactly alike. Yeah. They're awesome locomotives. And when I get my house in Los Angeles, I'm going to run these two engines together quite a bit. Have one of them following another. Yeah. Have the Echo Toys blow her sweet sounding tuneful whistle it's got, and this one will have a nice Phoenix sound system from the Virginia and Truckee, which will sound like a rustic Western engine. Perfect for something of this. Yeah. Well, that's it for now. Again, it was truly a privilege and an honor to compare both an Echo Toys and LGB Mogul up close on YouTube in real life. This is Chris9017, out.